Good afternoon again, everyone. I'm Ria Pugeda, Senior Program Officer at IF, a Foundation for Radical Possibility. Thank you for joining us on this in this conversation on participatory grant making. This afternoon, we have invited three community members who took part in the participatory grant making committee last year and also this year, and we will be hearing from them shortly. Before we start, I just wanted to share with you all our definition of participatory grant making. And this came from the Grantcraft publication, Deciding Together, which says that participatory grant making is ceding decision-making power about funding decisions, including the strategy and criteria behind those decisions, to the very communities that the foundation aims to serve. And as Yannick has mentioned in her opening remarks, we define community as Black people and people of the global majority with lived experiences of inequities in the region and who live at the sharpest intersection of systems of oppression, namely race, class, and gender identity. If you have any questions throughout the conversation, please feel free to key them in the chat. So participatory grant making addresses the issue of power in philanthropy. It disrupts philanthropic practices where the board decides on the grants based on the recommendations of the program staff. This approach has an impact on the community members who serve on the committee, as well as the nonprofit organizations and the philanthropic sector. I would now like to welcome the three committee members who participated in this process. First of all, I would like to call on Arthur. If you could please introduce yourself, your name, where you live, and the community that you represent or are connected to.
My name is Arthur Blair. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland, but I work with the community in Washington, D.C. and the metropolitan area because the issues that I work with, Spaces in Action, we work with a number of issues that is national and sometimes global, such as Medicare for all and various things that involve the Federal Reserve and to get the people involved, and just a number of other things.
Thank you, Arthur. I also now want to welcome Gabby.
Hi, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool, great. Hi, my name is Gabriella Hernandez. I'm currently living in Bowie and I represent Prince George's County.
Thank you, Gabby. And Dia, welcome, Dia.
Hi, my name is Dia King, he, him. We live in Ward 7. I'm an activist and I work with folks that have the similar issues as me, Black man, and issues with money.
Yeah. Thank you, Arthur, Gabby, and Dia for joining us this afternoon. So my first question is, why were you interested in being part of the participatory grant making committee? Let me start with you, Dia, and then Gabby and Arthur.
It was opportunity to learn about foundations and what they do, and I learned a lot about foundations and what they do.
Yeah. Gabby, your thoughts?
Yeah, my answer would be the same, similar to Dia's. For me, it really was about learning who these organizations were in our area that were looking for funding and needed grants and what it was that they are doing. So that was my interest.
Yeah. And Arthur?
My interest was to look at a whole concept of how each organization perpetuate each other and how they all as one move the community forward.
Yeah. So I just want to mention that Dia joined us in the pilot program that we did in 2019, as well as Arthur. Dia joined us in the participatory grant making process that we did for the proposals from the DC groups last year. And then this year, Gabby and Arthur joined us for the first region-wide participatory grant making committee. So overall, how did you feel about your experience being part of the participatory grant making committee? Let me start with Gabby for this question.
Well, I felt very, like at first I thought I wasn't prepared. And then I thought about it and I was like, well, the point is to have community members like myself evaluate these organizations that are trying to help our area. And so then I realized it was a matter of like our judgment and our opinion on what organizations we need and what we felt the grant would go to most use out of. So the whole experience was really fun and I learned a lot.
Thank you, Gabby. And Dia, your thoughts in terms of your experience?
I think it was a wonderful experience. Sorry, I gotta talk slow. It was a wonderful experience. I learned a lot about foundations in the area, and I learned that there are a lot of generous groups out there, and there are people doing wonderful work. I would say it was really good learning about the different organizations, and it was kind of painful not giving them money when you wanted to, but they didn't really fit the bill sometimes. But hey, I'm good.
And Arthur?
One of the biggest things for me, not just working, participating in this committee, but working with IF prior to this, it's been an enormous learning experience. It seems like every activity that I am requested or and honored to participate in, it advanced my learning ability into the community, and also how I can participate and interact with organizations and the community at the same time.
Yeah. One of the things that we provided, to support the community members, to help them, in their engagement in the participatory grant making process, included, honorarium, as well as the providing interpretation and translation services. And as a practice, when we had our in-person meetings, we also provided childcare and transportation assistance. Last year, the languages that we used in the committee were English, Spanish, and Bengali. And then this year, the languages that we used in the committee were English, Spanish, and Amharic. Yeah. I just want to ask, Gabby, Arthur, and Dia, what support helped you the most, or were we able to provide the support that you needed to be able to engage in the participatory grant making process? And if not, what support would have been helpful? Let me start with Dia.
I actually think that the support was great. You kind of got on my nerves, so it was cool. I really think you guys were very helpful. When we had any questions, you were like on it. So I think you guys did a great job. So thank you for the support you gave.
Thank you, Dia. And Gabby, any thoughts on that in terms of what support would have been helpful?
I agree. You all were very helpful. I know for me personally, I didn't need translation, but for those that did, it allowed me to be able to communicate with them. And I really appreciate that. It was a very good, it was good. It all worked out very good.
And Arthur? I think the support was great. Specifically, I would say that y'all availability at any given time and the quick response to any question we I may have had was just wonderful. And I would say that's not unique to what you all generally do in regard to being supported.
Thank you so much to the three of you. You know, we have some foundation colleagues here in the breakout, and I wondered if you could share some thoughts, you know, in terms of foundations which might be interested in implementing the participatory grant making process. What are some of your recommendations for them to consider or prepare for? Let me start with Gabby.
I think the most important for me would be to prepare to be able to have conversations with all of the organizations that are being taken into consideration, even though it is tedious to try to arrange meetings with that many people. Sometimes that's what helps the most, because I felt talking in person with the organization helped me make my decision the most. And preparing questions, I think also is really helpful. Having a set amount of questions that you want to ask all of the organizations so that you have that to take into consideration as well.
And Dia, your thoughts and or your recommendations for foundations?
For finding out foundation, for me, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Oh, so based on your experience, in the participatory grant making process, if a foundation wants to implement, you know, this process within their own foundation, what are your recommendations for them to think about or to prepare for or to consider as they plan to implement this kind of process?
I think I would need a little time to answer that question. Can you come back to me?
Oh, sure. Arthur, would you like to share your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say one of the most important things in the beginning stages is to have full information about what you want people to do. And such as how you're going to select, how you're going to set up your selection process, and be able to provide that information to those people that you have selected to make the decisions about who you're going to, how you're going to select them to provide funding for. Have those things in order before you do anything else.
Thank you for that suggestion, Arthur. And Dia, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So now I get it. I would say that layman's terms, or like when you do instructions, very clear and understandable instructions where everybody is sure to get it. Even though I wouldn't say that you guys were bad at that, but that's what I would say. Make sure people understand what they're doing and instructions on how to do it. That's very clear. Because remember what she said, not all of us are, what was the before education? Not all of us are formally educated. There you go. All right, so for us that are just educated, make it clear for us.
Yeah. I'd like to encourage folks to key in their questions in the chat. We do have a few minutes. We're having an abbreviated breakout, so I just want to be mindful of time. Before I share, some lessons briefly in terms of our experience to date, I just want to ask Arthur, Gabby, and Dia if there's anything that you would like to share that with the group, any other aspect of your experience in the participatory grant making committee that you would like to share. Let me start off with Arthur.
I guess I would share that when you're selecting the people to carry out the program in your behalf, make sure up front they understand what you want them to do. And bring them in the fold prior to the implementation of the program.
Dia, your thoughts?
I want to say that this was a wonderful experience in that it made me feel, actually it made me feel like I was in a different class of people. When I say that, I mean to the point where I'm able to give out thousands of dollars. I actually was able to make it rain on someone, and that was really cool. It made me feel like Santa Claus and be able to bless people and make me want to make $1 billion so I can give it away. Thanks.
Thanks, Dia. And Gabby?
Same. I love the aspect of being able to have a say in a way to give money. Wasn't necessarily mine, but I still had a role in it, and I still got to feel that like that money was going to a good cause. And I knew that that money was going to an organization that I personally spoke with and felt that they had a mission for our community to help us. And so that was cool. I think it's a great experience, and definitely having the way that you guys did it, it was very effective. So having your leadership and all that was very helpful. And I think it's very doable to create a board for this person, like for this purpose, and doing it during these times too, because we did it virtually. So yeah, that's it.
Thanks,
Ria,
Gabby. Oh, go ahead, Arthur.
I just want to say one other thing. It's just an honor to work with so many people who are dedicated to help to moving forward the program that IF has set up to be a member of the community that is doing a grassroots work that need to be done.
First of all, thank you so much, Gabby, Arthur, and Dia. And I'll go very quickly in terms of some lessons learned. One, this would not really have been possible, you know, without the commitment and engagement of the community members, three of whom you have heard this afternoon, as well as our partner organizations who referred them to us. So a big thank you, you know, to all of them. The other that I wanted to lift up is that yes, this is a grant making process, but it also goes beyond that. We did try to build a community, you know, among the committee members, as well as the support team that provided the support for the community to be able to do its work. Yannick earlier mentioned the importance of language justice. It is really, you know, a core value, and one which we had a lot of challenges in terms of, you know, having 3 languages in one space. Doing relay interpretation is not an easy task, but we were able to do it. And then lastly, I just want to mention the resources that are required to do this work. Resources not only in terms of the financial resources, but also, you know, the time, the expertise, the skills that the committee members put into the work, as well as the support team that, you know, help the committee to be able to do this work. And so the work itself is indeed, you know, the core function is to provide grants, but the impact is, you know, beyond grant making as well, in terms of building relationships and also learning more about the communities where we all, and in the region where we live. Yeah. So I just wanted to invite all of you to look at, for the funders, that is, to look at Change Philanthropy's Unity Summit. We do have a session there on participatory grant making, and you will be able to hear from other committee members who work with us on this process. And the registration ends on October 22nd. So just want to call that out. And lastly, also to those funders who are interested in a learning table on participatory grant making, please feel free to contact me or contact Kendra Allen, our program associate, who's now hosting another breakout, so that she's not here with us. But please feel free to contact any one of us if you're interested in terms of learning more. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you in a bit. Thank you.